Hello, I'm Michael Kemp, and I want you to know that I have spent 18 enjoyable years as a professional handler. And during these 18 years, I've had the pleasure of showing some really top-winning show dogs, and I've learned a lot during those 18 years, and today I would like to be able to provide you with some of the information that I've learned so that you can be more flexible in the ring and have a more enjoyable time showing your dog as a more experienced exhibitor. I'd like to start this lesson off by telling you, never let your dog look bad. Now, there are basic methods used by many in showing a dog, but there are times when you have to improvise. And there are certain situations that call for things to be different than they may be the last time you showed the same dog. You must do whatever it takes to make your dog look good, but you must always remain polite to the other exhibitors and make sure that you're not annoying to the judge. These things that we're going to learn today will help you be more flexible in the ring. Before entering the ring, try to find a spot that's most suitable for your dog. For instance, if you have a large dog, then you would want to be toward the head of the line or with other dogs of equal size. If you've got a small dog, then you would not want to be in between two large dogs like this. The best spot for him would be maybe back here with dogs that are more his size or at the rear of the line because the dog is small. Now, I'm talking about when you're dealing with dogs of the same breed and when you're dealing with dogs when you're in the group judging. If you win the breed, you got to go into the group. When you're in the ring and the dogs are the same breed, if you're familiar with the other exhibitors' dogs, then you can try to determine what's the best place for you to be. If your dog covers a lot of ground and you need to be in a position where when you move your dog, you're not going to interfere with people in front of you and you're not going to be constantly having to slow down. If this was a group situation, this kind of dog would certainly move faster than this one, so it would not be a good spot for him. He'd have to be in the front. If you're in a situation where the dogs are in the group ring, then don't be one of those people that wants to run right up to the front 4 or 5 dogs just so he can be up in the front. You got to learn to get into the spot that's best suited for your dog. Remember, it has to do with the size of your dog when it's the same breed. If your dog is a little smaller than others, you don't want to position him between 2 large dogs because it doesn't look good. And then it also pertains to speed. If you have a dog, suppose you're in Irish setters, maybe your dog covers a lot more ground than some of the other dogs do, then the best spot for you is up near the front. But if your dog doesn't, then don't deliberately get up near the front because then you're in a bad spot. The third thing is that when you go into the group ring, you should get into the ring in the best spot for your dog for movement. They can find your dog even if he's in the rear. It doesn't matter. If he's the best one, they'll find him. Get where you can perform best. Sometimes the judge will ask you to go into the ring catalog order. If this is the case, then you'll have to do things in order to position yourself properly like this. Into the ring, let the person in front of you set up his dog, or get in a position anyway, and then leave yourself a little bit of room and wait for the guy behind you to come on up, and then that way you have just the right amount of space to set up your dog, because if you're in catalog order, you're not going to have these other advantages necessarily that I spoke of already. So by doing this, at least if your dog is a little smaller, you leave space between them and they're not as close together and it's not quite as noticeable. So when you're setting up your dog, make sure that you give yourself enough room in front and behind. Wait for the person in front of you to stop so you know where he's going to be. And then at the same time, the guy behind you more than likely will stop, and then you can move up a little bit, and then you've got plenty of space in front of you and plenty of space behind you, and then that way you can take away from the disadvantage of having the dog that's too small. Now, when you walk into the ring, most of the time, people will automatically begin to set up their dog by hand. If you choose to do it this way, show him to his best advantage. For instance, if the dog is a little weak behind, then you might want to set him up like this, at an angle, so as not to draw attention to that little problem that you have. And also, sometimes it's a little bit more attractive than the basic method of setting a dog up, and that may draw a little attention to the dog, but you don't want to be obtrusive about it and overdo it. Just do whatever it takes to make the dog look good. Now, as I said, most people will walk into the ring and automatically start setting their dog up. If you've got a dog that will bait, then you can just walk into the ring and you can just go like this. You just walked in and here's your dog. You can get your dog to stand and really look sharp, and you can give the judge a little look at him like that, and as he passes by and he sees your dog looking good, then you can get a good first impression. Now it's time, after have done doing that, you're going to have to go to the basics now, because he wants to look at all the dogs, and you've got his attention, and now he's going to give your dog a good solid look. There you are, ready to go. In free showing your dogs, of course, with some breeds, like Min Pins and Pomeranians, small terriers, dogs like that, that's really the classic way to show the dog, is to walk into the ring and just stand there and let the dog pose on his own and never lay a glove on him. When you're in the ring, you need to learn how to project your dog and make the judge see the dog without being obnoxious or overdoing it. Another thing is, in order to get your dog to behave itself, you don't want to be doing a lot of this stuff and a lot of herky-jerky things and yanking and jerking. Just walk into the ring, set the dog up as quickly as you can with nice, smooth moves. Get him ready to go, and then you need to learn to project this dog so that the judge can see him. Just get his head in the proper position, do things, and make it smooth, nice and easy. Don't get herky-jerky. Once you get the dog set up, take him and give it to the judge, just like that. And hope that he doesn't move. Stay. Now you're projecting the dog to the judge. You're not up here like this, just hoping that he'll see him, and you're all on top of him and the judge can't see him, and you're always fidgeting with it, and you're wondering, oh God, I hope he looks good, and fix this foot, move this one 1/4 of an inch. Do it smooth and with as little effort as you can to make every move count, and as soon as you get the dog set up like he's supposed to be, give it to him. Stay. Good boy. Stay. Stay. And then get out of the way. You're showing the dog to the judge, but you're not making a big fuss over him. Guarantee you he can see it. You want to be a part of the dog and project the dog to the judge, like I told you, with little or no contact, eye contact with the judge. You'll see people get the dog all set up and boy, they'll look at the judge and just stare at him. Number one, you may miss something that needs to be done to your dog. You notice this dog's moved his feet several times. If I didn't have my eye on him, they'd be out of position and I wouldn't know it. Besides that, it's kind of an unnecessary thing. It doesn't look good, and sometimes judges resent it. Your job is to present the dog. You have to keep your eye on the judge so that you know what he's doing and you know what you should be doing next. But this constant staring at the judge is not going to help you win a dog show. You've got to have a good dog, and he's got to be presented properly. And the only way you can do that is keep your eye and your mind on your business. Now, there are a couple of things I'd like to mention to you. When you're in the ring and the judge is examining your dog, you can speak to the dog. You should talk to him. You should say, good boy, quietly, and say, take it easy, or anything you need to do to help him stand still and be examined and be a good show dog. Don't be afraid to talk. It's all right to speak to the dog when the judge is going over him, or any other time for that matter. When you're in the ring, you've got a business to attend to. Don't spend your time talking to the guys around you or people outside the ring. Pay attention to what you're in there for. You're in there to show your dog and win with it. Sometimes you can deviate from that. If you're in a really large class in some breeds where they might have 25 or 30 dogs in the ring at the same time, or if you're in a large group and the judge is not watching all of the dogs throughout the whole class, then of course there'll be times when you can chat with the guy next to you. don't make it a habit of doing it to a point where it's going to interfere with the exhibiting of the dog. Now we've talked about positioning yourself in the ring according to the size and what's best for moving, etc., according to size. Now we're going to talk about stacking your dogs and what's best when you're in there. Put these front feet right where you want them to be. Stay. Now he gives you lots of problems. See what he's doing? Yeah. Now you got him right where you want him. Just reach over here and raise his tail up. Put it right where you want it to be. Now you got him. Stay. Stay there. Stay. And talk to him. Encourage him to do what he's supposed to do. Good boy. And you give him a little bit. And if you let go of this dog and try to keep from baiting him, he's probably going to go like this. You just try to show him conventionally like other people, he's probably going to give you some problems. There he goes. So what you got to do, while the judge is walking down the line looking at your dog, you got to keep this bait working. Just let him have a little bit of it. Get his tail up. Hey. Just like that. Okay, you take it. Now we got a Springer Spaniel over here. Okay, you walk into the ring just like this. Hold on to his muzzle. Take the right leg with the right hand and put it up underneath his front. So you're going to stretch this dog out a little bit, and you need to have that front leg way up underneath him more than normal. About like that. And just reach around here with your left hand and do this leg out behind him, and do this leg with the left hand as well. Now you've got him. Fix his lips. There he is. Don't raise his tail up like this. It's a sporting dog. Just like that. Try to hide your fingers as much as you can. Now we've already mentioned how to set the dogs up with smooth moves, not anything too herky-jerky, not too fast. Just take it easy, and we don't want to be jerking on the lead and correcting the dog too severely and then constantly moving the feet because you don't think they're right. You got to move it 1/4 of an inch and all that sort of business. So just be careful. And when you go into the ring, be nice and smooth, not too fast. Now, why don't you all do that again and show them how you can do it real smooth and easy without being herky-jerky. You don't want to take too much time because you have to get the job done. But if you do it slowly and smoothly with not a lot of herky-jerky movements, you'll find out that your dog will look better because he doesn't pick up on those vibes, and he'll stay. Now notice when the Springer moved his foot, she didn't panic. She just reached down and took the foot, put it right where she wanted it to be. She didn't do anything too quick. Now you see people with their dogs set up, and they think they're all ready to go, and now you got somebody that's staring at the judge. They're making these little faces, and they trying to look happy and see how good I look, and aren't I pretty, and boy, you better look at my dog, or whatever those looks mean. What they have to learn how to do is to just watch the dog. If they put their eyes on that dog and pay attention to their work, the judge will find them. There'll be no problem at all. Pay attention to what they're doing, and don't stare at the judge. When you have people that are always looking at the judge, they're more interested in conning him into putting their dog up than they are baiting him. Here's a guy now, he's staring at the judge, and look how bad his dog looks. His dog's all over the lot, but boy, he's really working, and he's trying to tell the judge he is with his eyes instead of getting the job done. The way he should be doing it is like this. Doesn't that look better? Here's a man showing his dog, and he's working his dog. He's not working his eyes. Same thing with the young lady over here with the Springer. Now the dog looks good. She's concentrating on her dog. She's checking every angle, and she's making sure that he looks great. That looks wonderful. And now the judge is going to ask you to gait your dog around the ring. One thing you have to be aware of is the speed of the dog in front of you. If you get in there and you got a dog that's not going to go as quick as your dog is, and you determine that right off the bat, just slow down and let him get out of the way. If you don't do that, you're going to have results that look like this. Now you got a dog behind that needs to be moved at a swifter pace, and he can't do it because the guy in front of him is going too slow. And what you have to do is just realize it right off the bat and slow down. Just go into a little walk and let him get out of the way, and then maintain the speed that will allow you to stay the proper distance behind the dog in front of you, so that you can move your dog around the ring without either stopping to let him go some more, or you're always constantly so close to him that your dog never establishes the correct speed. Now I'd like to show you the results you can have when you start off slowly and let the man in front of you with the slower dog get out of your way, and then you can maintain the proper speed for your dog. There are different breeds, and there are different ways to move these breeds. Some people have a misconception that if they go real fast with their dog, they're going to look good, and that is not true. As in this breed, for instance, with an Airedale, the correct way to show this dog is at a fast walk, if possible. Now, there are some times when you have to deviate from that when the dog can handle a pace that's a little bit quicker. But the idea is to not move the dog fast just for fast's sake. You want to move a dog at the proper speed. Let me show you how this dog would look if he was moved at an improper speed. Here I am trying to run around the ring with this dog just so I can hurry up and get there, and I think, man, if I move this dog fast, I'm really going to look great. The way this dog ought to be moved is like this. Let me show you how this dog would look if he was moved at an improper speed. Here I am trying to run around the ring with this dog just so I can hurry up and get there, and I think, man, if I move this dog fast, I'm really going to look great. The way this dog ought to be moved is like this. In gaiting a dog around the ring, there's a point I'd like to emphasize. Quite often you see people, especially in a large ring, the dogs get going at a pretty good pace, and when they get to the corner, instead of taking the dog around the ring, as I like to put it, they will run around the dog. Let me see if I can demonstrate this for you. What they do is they get to the corner, and the dog, when you get to the corner, will take less steps than you will. You have to try to keep the dog from standing still practically while you run around him, because you don't maintain any progress. And if you let that dog get too far into the inside part of the corner, then you're going to lose your speed and the dog won't look good. I'll try to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going fast and the dog's not. He's going nowhere. What you want to do is take the dog around the ring. I'm going fast and the dog's not. He's going nowhere. What you want to do is take the dog around the ring. I just want to briefly touch on something that you're probably familiar with anyway, but it has to do with the length of lead that you use. You want to use a lead that can produce good results. The length of the lead is what I'm talking about. If you've got your hand way up in the air like this, you don't have a lot of control. The lead is too long, and about all you can do is go down a little bit from there to release it, but you don't have much leverage going up this way, and not even in a position that's like this. And you've probably seen a lot of people show dogs in a position like this. There isn't enough leverage. You've got a fist here. You can't be flexible. What you need to do is fold the lead up like this, let it come over your index finger, and put it at a length where your arm is at an angle about like this. You can go down from here, and you've got leverage to go up. But the pressure is on your little finger right here as opposed to holding a fist that doesn't have any flexibility. This way you can make little corrections like this with your fingers, and they're subtle, and they get the job done, and you're not making a fist and yanking and pulling on the dog. It's just little quick things like this. Now I want to talk about making the patterns that the judge is going to ask you to make. They talk about making a down and back, which is straight out and back, you know that, triangles or L's and things of that nature. And what we're concerned about here is doing these patterns at the right speed. When the judge asks you to go away from him on a down and back, or when you leave to make the triangle or the L, you want to start off at a nice, easy pace and not just bolt right into your top speed in the first two steps that you make. Also, before you take off, you want to be in good position. When the judge tells you it's your turn to go, you don't want to just have your dog here set up and he says, all right, would you take your dog down and back? You don't want to just stand up and just take right off. You got to be in position. When he says for you to make an L, and you're right over here, and the judge is to your right, and he said, would you please move your dog in an L? What you want to do is get up and walk over here like this. Make sure your dog is aimed in the direction you're going to go. Don't walk over here like this. And he says, will you make an L, and then go from there. Get the dog aimed in the right direction, just like this. Now you want to pick a speed that's best for your dog, and you have to have somebody moving for you at home. When you start off from the judge, you want to take off slowly because you want to make it count. Then when you reach the profile part of the movement, then you can pick up your speed to show off his profile movement, his reach and drive. Then when you come back, you want to make the turn slowly and slow down just a little bit so the dog puts his feet right where they're supposed to be, just like this. So, and when you get to the corner, just take it easy. Make sure he's ready. And right back to the judge. Now, when he asks you to make a triangle, you're going to have to make a couple of turns. So you don't have to necessarily make a continuous turn. You can slow down or pause at each one of these turns so that the dog does his best. If you don't have the room at some shows, unless you're outside with a lot of freedom, then you're on these mats and you're pretty limited to where you can actually move your dog. So you want to take advantage of every opportunity. He may only ask you to move once, and you don't want to blow it. You want to go just like this. Now you're ready to come back. You can stop, get him lined up, go right on. I can show you what can happen if you go too fast. Dog slips. Judge never gets to see the dog. Nothing looked good. You just went there and you came back. It was completely out of control. When you're in the ring and you're down to the end and the judge is trying to make his final decision, sometimes before he places the dogs in some kind of an order or before he makes his decision, that is. He may come to you, and you're one of the dogs that's in the running for a ribbon. He's trying to sort them out. He'll come to you, and he'll ask you to please move your dog out and back. Now, when he does that, you have to remember that this is probably the last chance. I mean, you have to learn to know when you're getting down to the end. And after he's already examined all the dogs and moved them a couple of times, he's taken them around the ring and he's looked at them, and you know that you've been in there long enough to make a decision, and he finally goes back here and he says, would you please move your dog out and back? Then you have to make the most of it. This is when he's looking for correct movement. He wants to see how well the dog can walk out and come back. He's not looking for a lot of flash, unless you see that when he's moved maybe another dog before yours, that he did stop to see if the dog would animate when he came back. Other than that, what you're looking for is correct movement. So you want to move the dog on a nice short lead that will not allow the dog to waver, and he can go straight out and straight back. Now, I want Scott to take this dog out and go the incorrect way. Take this dog out and back, please. So here he is. He's got the dog on a loose lead, and the dog wandered off, and he had to pull him back in line, and he made a mistake, and he could lose his ribbon and maybe even first place because of that. The way to do it is like this. Take the dog out and back. Nice and easy. Not in a race. You want every foot to go right where it's supposed to go and choose the correct speed. Out and back, please. Right way. Now, when you take this dog out and back at this time, I said to take him out nice and easy. Now, that doesn't mean that you are to take the dog out at a pace that is so slow that he can't ever establish his gait. But you don't want to go running out there on a loose lead and run out and run back. The dog maybe doesn't get in a straight line, maybe he doesn't walk his best, but you look cute and the dog's real fast and going and coming. I won't get it. This is your last chance. Take advantage of it. Take the dog out nice and easy, short lead. Don't blow it. It's your last chance. Don't let your dog look bad. Now we're going to talk about baiting your dog. There are a lot of things to consider. It's a very important part of showing dogs. If it's done properly, it can be a real advantage to you. If it's not, it can be a disadvantage. One thing you don't want to do is be overly noticeable. You want to be as unobtrusive as possible. You want to do a lot of herky-jerky movements, and you don't want to keep moving the bait all around. The dog's head is moving, and all the judge can see is the handler screwing his hands together and standing in funny positions. And all you want to do is do things real smooth and unobtrusive so that the judge sees nothing but the dog. And then there are other people who finally get the dog standing in the right position, and then they're never satisfied. Then they got to move him some more, and they pull him forward or they pull him back, and the dog moves his feet, and they keep trying. They're never satisfied. Then you got the guy who's always using his feet or his knees. God gave you two good hands to use, and you should use your hands to show dogs, not your feet and not your knees. You have to learn how to position a dog properly by just maybe walking up to him or pulling him forward if he's not in the right position, by doing it slowly. You don't want to use your feet and hands. Basically, there are two ways to bait a dog. You either stand in front of the dog like this and bait him, or you can shorten up the lead and put the bait in his mouth like this. Sometimes you have to use this if the dog's feet won't stay still, or if he doesn't want to get his tail up. Sometimes they get so intent on the bait they forget the other end. You can hold on to the lead and put a little bait in his mouth, pull him up forward, and then if his tail starts to drop, you can just reach down like this and keep the bait in his mouth, and then grab the lead again, and there you are. He won't move as long as he's not on that bait. There he is. Here. That's a good boy. That's a good lad. just like that. Now, the other thing you have to be concerned about is when you come back to the judge with the dog. And when you come back to the judge, you don't want to get too close to him. You're gating the dog back from a pattern that he's given you. Come on. And you go up to the judge, and you come up like this, and you're right here on top of the judge, then all he can see is the dog's eyes. That's about all he gets. And a look down his back, he doesn't see the dog's outline or anything that's nice about the dog. When you go, you want to go like this. You said, what? Come on, come on. All right. Stop short, turn the dog in profile, let the judge see the dog's profile. Then he gets a look at the whole dog, and then you get a better advantage of this part of the exercise. You want to take advantage of everything that you're doing. Don't go down there and get right under his nose where the guy can't see your dog. Now you got a good picture and he sees everything. Another point I'd like to cover in baiting. Sometimes you may be in a position where your dog is not a good baiter, or for some reason that day he's not interested in it. You still have to go through the procedure. One of the worst things you can do is take your dog back there and put the bait down and nothing happens. Then you got a bad situation. So before you go up there, you probably have tried him a couple of times, and if he's not working good that day, then what you can do is just take the dog on the pattern, come back to the judge, let him see the bait or a toy, whichever you want to use, and do it quickly. You let him see it, and then you toss it on the floor, and that way the dog will strike a good pose, and he'll be alert, he'll look at the toy, and you probably only have to be there for a few seconds. But you have to act quickly. Now, if you're in a situation where you have been showing this dog and he's been doing fine, you have no reason to think he won't bait, and you get up there, and all of a sudden nothing happens, think quick. Do it quickly. Just be prepared by showing him his bait anyway. You're going to do that to begin with, and if he doesn't take it, then bingo, right on the floor. Let's see how it works. Here we go. We're going back to the judge now. And that's all there is to it. It's real quick. We do it one more time. There he is. Now his feet are not exactly where you want them, but they're not bad. They're close enough, and he's alert. He's using his neck. His front feet are in good shape. I would not move this dog. If I did anything at all, I might reach down and move his foot. He moved for himself. But this just goes to show you what can happen. This dog is on the alert, and that's about all I would do if I did anything. Probably the best thing to do in this case is to let him stand just like that, because he's not going to be there long. He doesn't look as good as he might look if you set him up or if he had stopped perfect, but you're only going to be there for maybe 5 seconds anyway, and he looks good enough. Be willing to let him stand as long as he is reasonably correct. Don't concentrate on moving him and trying to get him right. You don't have that much time, and all the judge sees is you trying to make this dog look good. Just take him up there and stop him. Now we need to talk about conditioning your dog. Most of you now have reached a level of exhibiting where you're at a little bit more competitive situation than you might have been in months past. And when you get into this situation where you're competing for majors on your dogs, or possibly best of breed, or possibly even a group placement, then you need to be concerned about the condition of your dog. The basic part of it is, of course, you have to have the dog's nails trimmed, his feet have to be trimmed, his ears clean, his eyes clean, and the teeth clean, and so forth. Those are basic things that you have to do. But beyond that, you need to concentrate on good grooming, good muscle tone, and just general appearance. Now, dogs have to be in good shape. They have to be in a proper weight, and their muscle tone has to be good. You feed them right, and you exercise them properly, and you get these things. Then you have to make it your business to associate with people who are really good in their particular breeds. If that happens to be your breed, you make friends with them and ask them if they'll help you. Tell them you've got this dog and you're not sure how to trim it. Find yourself a good professional handler who is willing to help you, and talk to him. Because if you're going to compete and spend the money that it takes to travel around to these dog shows and show your own dog, then you need to at least have the advantage that is there for you by going to these people and asking them. If you get in there with a good dog that's not trimmed right, chances are you're going to get beat by someone who knows how to really put this dog down, especially if it's a scissored breed or a terrier, hard-coated terrier that requires some really specialized trimming with the hands. Then if you're cutting on the dog, or if you're over-trimming him, or if you don't understand the essence of the breed and you're not putting the proper outline on the scissored breed, then when you walk in the ring and you got 6 or 8 dogs in there and there is yours standing there that's not right, then you lose the picture that you need. Your dog loses its breed type, and consequently the judge says, well, the dog walks good, but it just doesn't look right to me. And if it's a dog with a coat that's scissored, you can remedy that real easy by trimming him properly and understanding, as I said before, the essence of the breed so that you can put the right outline on him. You need to find out the details about hard-coated dogs, about what parts of the dog have to be done with a knife, what parts are best not to use a knife on, what parts, if any, you can clipper, which there aren't many of. You have to learn that so that you don't trim the dog in a way that is abusive to a judge. When a judge sees a hard-coated dog, he doesn't want to see somebody who's been whacking on his head with a pair of clippers. Can't take an Airedale in there like that, or a wire. You have to do these things and do them properly. If you have a breed that doesn't require all this extensive trimming, don't be fooled by the fact that if you have a smooth-coated dog, you think, well, there's just not much to do to this one. Just give him a bath and take him to the dog show. And that brings to mind another important point. Dogs have to be clean. Even if they're short-coated dogs, you have to give them a bath before you show them. So you need to wash them up good, and their coats will be shiny and they won't be dusty, and they'll look nice. And believe it or not, there is trimming to be done on short-coated dogs, like smooth fox terriers, foxhounds, harriers, beagles, dogs like this. There are things that have to be done to them. And it's very subtle trimming, and if you don't know about it, then you could make mistakes that would be an insult to your fellow exhibitors and the person that's doing the judging. So when you get into these smooth-coated breeds, find out what is correct for that breed. Don't just take it upon yourself to dream up some idea and go in there and think, well, I did some trimming, so it must be right. You're better off to not take something off of a dog that you can't put back on. Just find out what's correct and do it that way. When you walk into that show ring, you should walk into the ring like you mean business. Walk into the ring like you own the place. However, don't go in there and be impolite to your fellow exhibitors. Don't be offensive to the judge. You want to, in a subtle way, give off an air of confidence. If you go in there with your dog with a winning attitude, with a confident walk, you're going to have some better results. Number one, you're going to be more confident. You're not going to be bothered by the surroundings. You're not going to be nervous. Go in there like you have the greatest dog in the world, and it's up to everyone else in there to beat you. And if you go in there with this attitude, you're going to find that it's going to be easier for you to win. Now, sometimes your dog won't be the best dog, and you're going to go in there with that attitude, and you lose, and you're going to have a great deal of disappointment. But that's okay. That comes with it. You have to just learn how to handle it. But if you continue to exhibit dogs with a positive attitude, you're going to give off an air that makes judges want to see your dog. It's hard to describe exactly what I'm talking about, but it's confidence. It's not arrogance, and it's not overconfidence. It's not smart alecky. It's just, here is my dog, and he's a heck of a dog, and you're going to have to beat him, the rest of you. And judge, here he is. This is a heck of a dog. That's what you have to do. Now, when you're moving your dog, you want to take the dog around the ring, and you want to take him down and back with a purpose. When you walk with a purpose. You have to walk in time with your dog, and you have to take steps that indicate you have a purpose. You're going somewhere so that a decision can be made. When you're talking about attitude and confidence, just think of football players. Just think of the Chicago Bears. Now, when they go into the ring or the football field, they go in there to win. You have to develop an attitude that says, you're not going to beat me. You have to go in there with confidence. And you have to go in there with the attitude that, by golly, I spent a lot of money to get here, and I want to win with my dog, and you're not going to beat me. And if you learn to hate losing to the point that when you're in the ring, you can go 100% the entire time that you're in there and not take things for granted and not just hope you're going to win, then you're going to come out a winner. And when I say hate losing, I don't mean walk out of the ring screaming and yelling when you don't win. I'm talking about being of a mind that makes you keep trying the entire time you're in there. I've been in positions with dogs when I was placed, after a good bit of judging had taken place, I was placed third in line. May look like I'm out of it. If you can produce something with this confident attitude and this continual trying, and then don't give up and don't say, oh, well, that's it. Keep pushing. I've ended up in first many times. I remember a time with Welsh Terriers in Montgomery County. There were 25, 30 specials in the ring, and it looked like the judge was not even looking at my dog. And suddenly I realized, well, the dog had already won 2 days. Keep going. Well, the fact was that the man liked my dog already. He was just checking the rest of them to make sure that he hadn't missed anything. And then he just placed him up there and put my dog right up at the front and said, go around the ring, and that was it, best of breed. You have to be on your toes. You have to have a competitive attitude. Don't assume that it's over until the man points to you or to someone else. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson on handling your show dog. Try to develop a competitive attitude and concentrate on the job at hand. Don't let the surroundings bother you, and don't be nervous. Don't be distracted by other things. You've worked hard. You've spent money to get there. Concentrate on the job at hand. Learn to appreciate the other competitor's dog, because he too may have a winner. And you have to learn to appreciate his dog too, because he's worked as hard as you have, and he's trying just as hard as you are. Now, remember the things that we've told you today, and I'm sure that it will help you have a great time at the dog show. Have fun when you're showing your dog, and thank you very much.